Every third Thursday of the month is dope. That's when the education peeps come to pass the scope. Lending a voice and new perspective on a topic chosen by the collective. Bringing relevant PD straight to you. So what do they call it? It's past the scope, PDU coming to your life. Causing a passion for learning to ignite. Amplify your voice to make learning thrive. All we do is pass the scope, PDU coming to your life. Causing a passion for learning to ignite. From Thursday morning to Thursday night, all we do is pass the scope.
Yo,
All we do is
Valerie.
pass the scope.
Go ahead, girl. Sing it, girl. Go ahead.
I've been jamming in the background.
Well, I will be completely honest with you. I am excited that we may get a new version of the theme song.
Look,
I'm
well,
holding to it.
you laid down a really good scratch, though. I mean, I like the scratch.
Well, we'll see. Good morning, everyone. This welcome to Pass the Scope After the Bell edition of ISTE 20. Right now, as you can see on the screen, the main stage is actually getting ready to take place. We've got our good friend Chris Aviles. He's actually going to be presenting this morning, so we figured we bring a little bit of that onto the screen for you as well, because we want to make sure that we support him. He actually is a part of our / fraternity sorority with OVA Academy.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit about that at a later show. But good morning to you, Valerie. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning from sunny Atlanta, but cold and frigid this morning. Doing okay. It's the last day. It's the end of the week.
Yeah.
Let the weekend begin.
Hallelujah. What you mean the weekend began? I began last night.
Look, well, we were still working. It didn't feel like it, and to know that we had to wake up this morning and it's still going on. The weekend for me means that I could totally connect
Yeah,
with my family, and so
yeah,
until I could really just turn it off, it hadn't begun, but it will begin after this.
yeah. I feel you. I feel you. I went to bed quite early. Friday is official for the weekend for this family because we Uh, Friday night's a special night in our house. It's usually movie night, but we haven't been going to the movies since February.
Yeah,
February.
yeah.
But now that the Mandalorian is back on, that's our jam right there. You know. So after the show is done, we hover up on the couch and put Mando on, and last night was pretty good. We were having conversations for about an hour afterwards. I was like, I'm
Wow.
going to bed, y'all. I threw the covers on. I fell asleep on the couch. That's how we do it.
Nice, nice. Oh, looks like you got my friend on there, Megan. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she's out in Cali, and did some work with her with the Teachers Guild. Good
excellent,
people.
excellent, excellent. Yeah, she's
Good
been actually
people.
opening up the main stages throughout the week. Ladies and gentlemen, this is day 7 of ISTE. The cool thing about this is usually the day that I disliked the most when we're in person. Because everybody's gone, you know,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
got flights to catch, are driving out of town. It's hard. And when you present on that day, you have to expect crowds to be a little bit small. But now that we're virtual,
yeah.
like no excuse. It's pretty dope that you may have an even greater audience today, and as you can see up on the screen here, there's 11,000 attendees for
Yeah.
ISTE this year, which is cool with it being virtual.
A virtual, absolutely. And I mean, the greatest feature for me is just access to be able to have, the recordings 6 months later. So, I don't have to feel like, because some people may have only been able to truly attend ISTE for a day. And it almost feels like, oh man, should I have purchased just a day pass? But when you think about it, for 200, 250, whatever it is that you paid, you have that for 6 months. That
Yeah,
really is a
yeah.
cost effective price. It truly is no excuse.
Yeah, and here at Pass the Scope EDU, yeah, we're trying to bring as much as that to you, mainly from the people's perspective, because you, as an attendee to these conferences, there are a lot of takeaways that you can have and be able to apply immediately to your classroom, or later on when you go back. And that's important. So we want to make sure that we amplify your stories from the conferences and your voice from the things that you were able to gain from what you've heard and learned. So with this show, we're going to bring on some guests today, talk a little bit about the ISTE experience, what it is that they're doing, and try to have some more organic conversations, around, whatever it is that they're actually talking about. So we already got one of our guests who's popped up on the screen. I'll bring him on and let him introduce himself. Bam.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Can y'all hear me okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect.
Awesome. Awesome. I was trying to log in with my computer and I was having trouble. So I figured I'd jump outside and get my phone up and we'll rock and roll. I'm bearing the freezing cold here in Virginia. So we're going to make it happen.
So this is guest number 2 that's outside because of internet connectivity. So what's the temperature?
Yeah, it's about, a solid 40 something, but we're good. No frostbite yet. No frostbite yet.
Well, we certainly don't want you to freeze up on us, so we won't hold you out there too long.
Sure. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience here?
Absolutely. My name is Jonathan Alsheimer. I am a middle school teacher, and funny as it is, I'm actually a middle school teacher who works with the keynote from yesterday, the relentless one, Hamish Brewer. He's a good friend of mine. So it's pretty awesome. We actually are, we walk the halls together and, I'm at his school and it's a great time. So I can honestly say that the fire that he brings to the stage is nothing but the truth. It is absolutely the truth. And I feel like if you hear that from a teacher who's working with him, then, it must be true. It must be true. But I'm also a keynote speaker myself and an author of the book Next Level Teaching, published by Dave Burgess Consulting. So, I'm just a jack of all trades, but an educator that just loves to work with people, loves to work with kids, and passion driven and excited to be on the show today.
Nice.
And we can hear the wind.
I was going to say, so middle school, you said middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th, which one?
Seventh grade history teacher. Yeah.
Middle of the middle. Oh,
That's
boy.
right.
That's the one level that I have not taught. And that's the one level I think I would probably resign from the profession.
I'll tell you what, I've taught high school, I've taught middle school, I taught 6th and 7th grade. But I feel like if you're, as a middle school teacher, I feel like I'm just as much a part of every grade level that they're, in the entire school. But I can tell you what, when 6th graders come in, they're babies. When 7th graders come in, they're babies for about 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden they're more grown than me, apparently. You know what I mean? So it is one of those it's one of those grade levels that, man, I'll tell you what, like you get a little bit of everything. You get a taste of the attitude, but you also get a taste of the fun because they're not too old and too cool to have a good time. They love to have fun and they love to smile and at that age, they really, they try to walk in almost like, I don't know if I want to be, school. I don't know how I feel about school, but they get into it just as much as you do sometimes, if you have fun the right way.
The right way. I can only imagine what those halls are like,
I'll tell you what, when it comes to, talking about working in a middle school, but also working with, with Hamish Brewer and what he's done at Fredland Middle School and working with the amazing staff that we have, like, it's a fun experience, man. Kids are running into classrooms and smiles on their faces. It sounds so cliche, but it's the truth, man. So it's a breath of fresh air. I know that in the world of education, we're fully virtual right now. So, it's not the same as it once was. We're not in the hallways right now. We're fully virtual here in Northern Virginia. We're kind of slowly getting back into going into the classrooms. But I'll tell you what, man, it's we're still rocking and rolling. The teaching drive and love for education doesn't stop just because we're looking through a computer screen. So.
Excellent. So Next Level Teaching. So this is the second book that's coming out, or am I incorrect with that?
I'm kind of losing you a little bit.
Can you hear me? Is it the Virginia weather that is making you lose me?
Uh-oh. Can you hear us now?
This is actually very fun to watch.
All right, I'm back. I can hear you.
Look, I was having some tech issues yesterday too, so welcome to the club.
But I'll tell you what, though, isn't that that's like the heart of education is like tech issues and trying to rise above the chaos that's ensuing, right? But if you can make it happen, like that's that's the funny thing about what we do. So many other professions, like if they have something small happen, it's like a big catastrophic event. For us, it's like, yo, this happens every 10 minutes.
Right.
This is a normal day in the neighborhood, man.
Yep. Just like, just hold, pause. It'll be fine.
That's right.
We're okay.
That's
I
right.
tell people all the time, just pack your patience. You know, this is technology. This is how it works. It's
how it
supposed to make
works.
your life a little bit better, but it can be a little complicated at times.
That's right. That's right.
But when you were moving the computer around, I was reminded of back in the day. Now I'm pretty sure I'm showing my age now. Is when we had the rabbit antennas.
Yes.
You had to get it in the right position. You know, get up here with your leg up and arm over on this side. To get a good signal.
You got your dad saying, "Move it to the left. Move it to the left." We used to do that too, man.
Well, I was asking about next level teaching. That's the name of the book that you have. You're working on a second series to this, or
yes, I'm working on a second book right now. The first book, Next Level Teaching, is about teachers being the driving force of school culture, and how teachers, every single day, like oftentimes when we talk about school culture, we talk about what happens in the schools. We're always like, well, I'll worry about what I do in my room, and that's all I'm going to care about, and everything else falls on the shoulders of the administrators, and they're the ones who dictate the school culture. And I say no. I say that administrators, they lay the groundwork, right? They lay the foundation for what the school culture can be like, but it's the teachers that are the driving force of school culture, because we're the ones who see the kids every day. You know what I mean? Although the administrators have so much power in what they do and they have relationships with the kids, we see the kids every single day, and we lay the groundwork, because those kids, they walk into our room, and we, through our passion and our love of education, through our passion and love for what we teach, we instill in them a love of education, and we make or break what happens next after they leave our classrooms. I always say this, like the passion that we have that leaves from our classroom with the students is like a tidal wave of positive change in the school. Kids are either going to leave your classroom, go in the hallway, and they might be fighting some kid or, running down the hallway. You know what? When kids have a great time in class and they can't wait to go to class because they're like, man, I can't wait. What are we going to do today, Mr. Alsheimer? What are we going to do today, Miss Thomas? Like, I'm so excited about class today, because it really does happen. When they leave classes that they're super engaged in, when they walk into the hallway, man, it's a totally different experience for them. They walk into the hallway and now they're smiling, as opposed to like walking into the hallway and cussing. Now they're walking into their next classroom and they're like, hey, what's going on? They say hi to the teacher. They walk in, they sit down, they're ready to go. They're not walking in pissed off because the last class all they did was fill out a worksheet and they put their head down and were sleeping, right? So that energy and that love leaves our classrooms, goes throughout the hallways, goes into the other classes, and that's just a small taste, but it's the engagement that you bring in your classroom. It's the relationships that you build outside your classroom. And it's just the fact that teachers are this ball of energy, whether it's, standing on top of tables or you're the one that's like the quiet one in the corner, but even the quiet ones in the corner can make a difference in the way they move about during lunch duty in the hallways and all these different tricks and trades that we already know and do. But taking it to the next level in everything that we do, and try to take that school culture and that classroom culture to the next level, just getting kids fired up about learning, because we're fired up about teaching. And of course, my second book that I'm working on right now is about how do we motivate students, how teachers, I just started writing it this last week, and it's about how teachers, I feel like that's a big question for every teacher, right? Like, how do I get my kids motivated? How do I get my kids motivated in school? How do I get my kids motivated virtually? Shoot, parents are like, how do I get my kid motivated to want to learn? Right. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a book for everybody, but it's a book that teachers can look at and learn some tricks and kind of reignite their fire and get a little bit inspired, get a little bit motivated. But it's a book all about how teachers can motivate their classrooms and motivate their kids to kind of take hold of their own learning and really like love school, love education, because I feel like we've all had that teacher in our life that, made us love school. We probably had a teacher that made us like not like school that much too. I'm sure someone had said something that, I had teachers that said things to me that I still remember that were negative, but we always had that teacher that did it for us, man, that made us come to class ready to go. And oftentimes it's that teacher that can just flick on that switch of love and education. And if you do that as an educator, if you get your kids motivated, man, all of a sudden now they're like, man, I'm going to go attain my hopes and dreams, and I can't wait to do this. Or, you're just opening up a door of possibilities and making them see that school is cool, school is fun, and learning is one of the greatest things that you can do in your life, and it never stops, even as you get older.
Go ahead, Valerie.
You said a lot.
That's often what I do. I'll tell you what.
You said a lot, but it's all true, because at the end of the day, I think the key components that you mentioned is truly, you got to build a relationship with the kids. And I know we hear that a lot and we hear the cliche, but not just building the relationship with the kids, you have to want to build a relationship with the kids. And you got to know where they're coming from. You've got to know what's happening in their neighborhoods. You've got to know the things that are interesting to them. Because when you're talking about motivation, I'm only going to be motivated about things that I like, so to
Right.
speak. No one gets excited about things that they feel like they fail at or they don't understand its purpose. And so when we
Absolutely.
show up to the classroom with the curriculum that's already preset, you did not poll the customers. You can't show up with the template to the classroom and then expect everyone to get excited about it, because yes, you may have stood up on a table or you may project your voice real loud. If that content is not what the kids are interested in, then it doesn't matter. So what you have to do is figure out what they're interested in and then link the standards to that. Then
Absolutely.
link the stuff to it. And then now the kids see a why, and they understand, and they can see a pathway, figure out their interests. So kids are into video gaming and all of that. Well, let's try to figure out a way to
Yeah.
build literacy into that. Let's try to make them realize that there is a design path in gaming, if they're artistic, if they are musically driven, all of that. And then so once you start to do that, motivating kids isn't really going to be your job. That will happen for them
Right.
naturally.
Absolutely. I often say this, a great coach, they don't make their players fit their game plan. They make their game plan fit the
Yeah.
strengths of their team and their players. And it's funny the things you just mentioned, because the very first unit that I taught, I was teaching, because we were virtual at the end of the school year last year, and the school year got cut off for us. We had to take on some of the sixth grade curriculum, and what I teach is usually post Civil War. And so I was teaching the Civil War for the first time in a lot of years, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to teach the Civil War, but I got to figure out a way to do it virtually that are going to suck kids in. So I turned it into, I was like, let's think about what the kids are interested in. So when you said that, I was like, you're literally speaking my language. I'm telling you, the kids love gaming, kids love movies, kids love entertainment. So I built an entire storyline around kids going back in time, using a time machine, working for a secret agency, going back in time to find encrypted codes and dissecting text and research and doing different stuff. And all of a sudden, it's almost like they forgot they were learning for a second. They were like, you know what? I'm learning, but like I'm doing something totally different. And then right now, what we're doing is we're playing video games in class and building a storyline as if we're creating our own game in our own classroom, but it's all around creative writing with westward expansion and cowboys and cattle drives and all of that in the wild, wild west. And it's just taking the curriculum that, like you said, is a set thing that we have to cover. But how we do that is the magic, that we have the ability to breathe life into the standards that we teach in whatever way that we want to. And often what all you have to do, one of the biggest things to do that and make it successful, is what are your kids interested in? What do they like? What do they love? Try to tie that stuff into the curriculum. And then all of a sudden the magic happens.
Yeah. See, I love everything you're saying. I always felt that I was way ahead of the times when I was in the classroom. I was in the game for about 23 years, Jonathan, so you're about 23 right now, right?
I'm 37 years old, man. So I'm halfway through, but 23 years in the world of education, man. That's something to clap to. Very good.
Yeah, but I would often tell, a lot of people didn't understand that language at that time, right? So when they would pull me into data meetings and ask what the secret, I would say there is no secret. It's the child, making sure that they are who they are and building the equity within them is the key to learning. And I would say, look, I try to meet them where they are. That simply means for me to get off of the stage, me to get out of my ability to, or my need to have control and power and the holder of knowledge, but allow where they are, their environments, their communities to play a role in how we actually learn in those particular experiences. So we, back in the day, Angry Birds was huge.
Yeah.
I was terrible at science. I'm a math mind. I was terrible at science, and when I had to teach all the subjects in fifth grade, I brought in things like Angry Birds and Cut the Rope and little simulation games like that to pull in the science aspect of it and allow them to show me how it is applied to what it is that's coming out of those curriculums. You have to learn to pimp the inside of your box first, so to speak. But you have to be willing to do so. So today, people are more open into that conversation, but you still have people living within those restraints of that box or that data-minded, conversation. What do you say to those people who have that?
Well, I think that that's a really common thing, because so often I think in my opinion, the magic happens outside the comfort zone, and in the classroom, that's no different than in your personal life, right? But I think oftentimes people fear getting outside the comfort zone because naturally we like to be comfortable. We like to do what we know. We like to do what we've done our whole lives. Unfortunately, now we got to look at, is that really working? Is that working? Is that working for all kids right now? No, it's not. So we need to change our game plan. I mean, let's be honest, as educators, you're getting in this to make a difference. You're getting in this to do the best you can for kids. You're in this to help them learn, help them grow, help them love education. You're not going to do that by doing the same things you always did. And so that's the challenge. The challenge, quite simply, is, and for me as an educator that does this naturally, I'm always looking like, what can I do better this year? Is how can you just step your game up? If I'm a parent, I always say, I think the best way to get people to understand this is to think about it like this. What if it was your kid in your classroom? How would you teach? I always say, teach like it's your kid in the front row, back row, side row, out in the football field, in the hallway, it doesn't matter. All of a sudden you start looking at what you're teaching, how you're treating kids, how you're talking to kids, what your interactions are like, even with your peers, where a kid might be 10 feet away watching you. You're going to change all of those interactions, all of your teaching style, the way you're approaching things, because you're thinking like, man, if this was my child, how would I react right now? If this was my child, am I teaching the best I can? Is this the education I would want for my kid? And I always feel like that naturally for me steps my game up, because I want my kid to have the best education. I want my kid to have teachers that love. I have two girls. I have a 7 and 3-year-old. I want their teachers to love. Yeah, we're doing work, man. But I want my kids to have teachers that love them. I want my kids to have teachers that smile when they walk into the room and say good afternoon when they leave. I want teachers that are gonna teach to what they need. Gonna pull in things that relate to my kids with their interests, everything that we were talking about. And I feel like that would be my question, or that would be my statement to those teachers. Look at your classroom like it's your children, your kids. If you don't have kids, imagine them. You know what I mean? And then what would you do? Yeah. Because then all of a sudden it makes it really real for you. If you're really honest with yourself, and as Hamish Brewer said in his keynote yesterday, and he always says, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? If you look at yourself in the mirror, did you really do your best for kids today? That's a tough question to answer. Only you can answer that.
You're absolutely right. And, education isn't easy, and there's so much that the kids come to the classroom with. There's so much that teachers come to the classroom with. Teachers in so many ways are superheroes, but they're humans too. And so when you're talking about bringing their baggage to the classroom, trying to leave it at the door for the love of learning, we got to meet kids where they are, but we have to remember that at the end of the day, we are in the business of restoring the humanity of people and the integrity of people and making them better people, hopefully not just for our local communities, but for our global community. And so that's a tough job. That's a tough job, and that's a heavy weight to carry, but we can't do it alone. We have to do it as a team. So that it's a phenomenal work, and it's exciting to hear that you're in a building where teachers sound like they're doing the right work, and you have people and leaders that are building you guys. And I wanted to talk about this next level. So when I came across your tweet, what made it almost familiar with me, and I'm not sure if you're familiar or not, I know there's a next level teaching series. I think Jeremy Anderson,
yes,
the Jeremy Anderson group. And so when I saw that, I thought, man, is he affiliated? What's going on? But obviously it sounds like, both worlds, kind of same concept, almost even a similar look. And so I was thinking, wow, here are these two groups which may or may not be affiliated with each other, but that next level, you kind of spoke to it a little bit already. That next level, when you say next level, what is that? What are those two words supposed to ignite?
In my opinion, that means just stepping your game up just a little bit. Everybody's at their own level, right? Everybody's wherever you are, taking your relationships with kids to the next level, just getting a little bit better. I always say this: when people first hear that term, they're like, does that mean I got to like build rocket ships and like do all this crazy stuff in my classroom? Do I have to be a perfect teacher? And they kind of step back, and I'm like, no, that all that means is whatever you're doing, take whatever it is that you're doing in your classroom and think, how can I make it just a little bit better? That's taken to the next level. How can I make my instruction just a little bit different, a little bit cooler, a little bit more engaging for kids? That's the next level. Building relationships. How can I step outside my comfort zone and get involved in the school in a little bit different way? That's taken to the next level. And oftentimes, it's the simple tricks that you do in your classroom that take it to the next level. An example that I often talk about is when, I did something that I've done for years called, when you play bingo, you think of like years ago, you play bingo with a little, with a worksheet at the table, right? We've all done it, right? When I was a student teacher, my teacher that I was working with said, here, let's play. Why don't you try this? Play bingo with the kids today. And so we did review bingo, and, that's been something that's been, every teacher I feel like has done that. Well, all of a sudden last year, I was trying to think like, how can I step this up and take bingo to the next level? Because my kids today, when you hand them a worksheet, they're like, I'm used to gaming. I'm used to getting online. Like, hand me a worksheet's not doing it for me. So you can't do that anymore, right? So I looked at what I was doing before, and I was like, how can I step it up? How can I take bingo to the next level? So I was like, all right, let's do this. So I got some tape. I taped up my floor. I made bingo sheets on the floor. I cut up answers to questions that we had been working on all unit, and I passed them out to the kids. I said, fill in your bingo sheets with these. And they're like, what? And I go, there's boxes all over my floor. I said, okay, you're working as a class, 2 teams in the class. And we're playing human bingo. And they're like, what does that mean? I said, you're the pieces. And I said, I'm going to ask questions, and you got to work collaboratively, but you got to work quietly because the other team's going to try and steal your answers. And if you see an answer that's correct, grab that piece of paper, step on that spot. You are the bingo piece. All of a sudden, I got kids moving around. I got kids smiling. I got kids laughing. And it's literally bingo from a worksheet that I just turned into something that was just a little bit different. That's what next level means to me. And you can take that and you can mold it into anything that you're doing. Classroom instruction, relationships with kids, the environment you build, student assemblies, the whole 9 yards, just taking whatever it is and try to think even in simple ways, effective ways, how can I make this more engaging for kids?
Love it. So is the next book's Next Level Learning?
No, I'm not sure what the next one's going to be. I don't know what the title of it's going to be yet, but I'm not sure if I'm even going to have next level in it. But
I mean, because all of that, you mentioned a key word, key phrase in there, because this allows students to take ownership, of their learning, and what it does, it also creates a passion within them, to want to go further. It arouses their curiosity.
Absolutely.
It ignites their passion for learning, to borrow a phrase from us, Past the Scope EDU. And I think that is key. But here's the question. We're in this wonderful opportunity called COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and sometimes the flame, for learning and for teaching is a little low. What is it that, this can you say to those teachers who are feeling that right now?
I think that, honestly, every teacher's got to be feeling that to some degree. No matter how effective you are, I always feel like even if you're in the school building on a normal year, every single teacher, no matter how good, how effective you are, is going to go through times of the year where you're just like, I've got so much going on. I don't even know if I want to come into school today. Like, I need to take a day off. Like, should I do this anymore? I need to get a job somewhere. Everybody goes through that. Right now, I think it's just amplified. And I'm going to say this. I always feel like for me, the biggest thing for me is think back to why you did this. We're not doing a job where, like, there's so many meaningless jobs out there that are meaningful maybe in making money in the business sense or things like that. We're talking about dealing with people, dealing with kids' minds, dealing with the hearts of the community. We're talking about meaningful, impactful work. So you need to think back to what it is that drove you in the beginning? What made you want to do this work? And if it was summers off, you got tricked, because most of us have to work in the summer. If it's summers off, you got tricked. But you got to go back and think, what's your why? What's your motivation? What was your inspiration back then? And if it's not your inspiration anymore, then you need to find that. And you can only find that deep within yourself. But oftentimes for me, it's looking back at why I'm doing this. And oftentimes another key aspect for teachers that are struggling a little bit is, I always say this, like, take the small successes and focus on those. Control your mindset. You control your mindset. Nobody else controls your mindset but you. You can sit there and you can say, you know what, man, 15 kids didn't pay attention, or 15 kids this, or because it's COVID and the laptops, the technology didn't work. How about the 5 kids who typed in the chat box and said something positive today? How about the 5 kids last week? How about the 2 kids last week that participated, that didn't participate the week before? Take those small things that are big things, and that's big for somebody else. And if I'm a parent and my kid normally doesn't participate, and you got my kid to participate, they might have been the only one to participate, but that's my kid, and you did something for my kid. And I think we need to hold on and grasp onto those moments that might seem small, but those small victories, man, sometimes are the most impactful.
Absolutely. Well, definitely congratulations to you on this journey and with the writing. And, like I said, when I saw that next level grab my eye, and I said, wait a minute now. I said, I've seen this, but then I wasn't familiar with who you were. And I said, well, geez, is he part of that Jeremy Anderson group? What's going on? But, definitely, as you mentioned, that next level is next level. That's what we want. That's what we hope. That's what we should aspire to be.
Yep.
Every day in teaching should be reflective. And as you mentioned, it should be purposeful. We're not in it for the money. We hear that all the time. Teaching doesn't pay, but it's do I feel like there's meaning and purpose and value to what I was set on this life to do? And not everyone that comes into this profession should be in the classroom. I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, if a teacher needs to be managed and they're having a problem with being managed because they can't recognize that they should be stepping their game up, I'm that administrator in the building that is not afraid to have that fierce conversation with them. Like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's about that time that you decide to do something differently, because when you're impacting kids' lives, and I have to think about every child that comes into the building as though they were my own. I have 3. 13, 10, and 7. And I hold their teachers accountable. I never introduce myself as an administrator or an educator to my teachers, my kids' teachers. I always come in as a parent, but you better believe I'm like a mama bear, and I'm asking them tough questions. Don't just sit there and lecture to my child all day. Are you engaging them? And this pandemic is revealing some things to me about what learning is looking like in the classroom. So we have to be reflective about our practice. We have to step our game up. We have to do it next level. And so, just thank you for continuing to amplify that message of next level teaching.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on today. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
I got one more question.
Absolutely.
Brian's in deep thought. That might unfold for another 15 minutes.
but it won't. It's a very simple question. I mean, you said some things, you be honest with you, you remind me of a younger me, just to be honest with you. But you mentioned about being acting as if these are your kids in the classroom. I always said that teaching made me a better father, and the better father I became, the better teacher I was. You've got a 7 and a 3-year-old, 2 girls. Valerie has 3 kids. I've got 4. I've got one at every level: college, high school, middle, and elementary.
Wow.
And I've always, like Valerie said, I had to advocate for my kids as a parent, but it was tough for me to take off that hat as an educator every single time. But here's a personal question. Has teaching made you a better father?
Absolutely. I would say, I really like the way you put it. Teaching, I believe that teaching 100% has made me a better father, and being a father has made me a tremendously better teacher. I think it's twofold. So to answer that question, it almost sounds like I'm answering it the same way that you said it. But to be honest with you, like, dealing with my kids at home, I walk into my classroom and I'm a better teacher because of how I look at my classroom and how I look at my kids. And I'm thinking like, this could be my daughter. This could be my daughter. How do I want them to be talked to, spoke to, all that. But at the same time, when I go back to my home, I feel like I love on my kids more because of the experiences that I see that are difficult in the classroom, if that makes sense. And we know what those are. And I feel like it makes it more personal for me and that I'm blessed in the sense that, I can, I'm there for my kids. I can take care of them, but at the same time, it makes me sad because I also understand what some kids go home to, and I understand what some, and the stories that, that they have. We have kids that have the best home life, but as well as I do that's not the case for everybody. That's not even the case for everybody that I know that are close to me. You know what I mean? So I think that that's twofold. I think it's twofold. The way you said it was perfectly. I think that being a teacher makes me a better dad, but also being a father makes me a much better teacher as well.
Excellent. We definitely appreciate you spending time with us, Jonathan. You got a new fan.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we'll be looking out for you, and we'll definitely love to have you back on, especially.
We'd love to.
Making Learning Addictive show. I'm sorry, Val, I got to pull a plug in there.
No, that's all right. Put it in there.
That's exactly what you're doing. It's making learning addictive, and infectious. So
would love to.
Love to have you guys. In 2021, as we're making plans to do things bigger at the next level.
Let's do it.
Man.
All right, take care.
Go get warm. All
right, thanks, man.
Thanks, Jonathan.
All right. Awesome.
Well, that's what's up. And that that was a good conversation for sure. And I appreciate when people can amplify teaching and what's going on and doing good things. And a lot of times, Brian, when you're in the classroom, sometimes you do feel that burnout and walk away from it, and sometimes, like you mentioned, sometimes joining the dark forces or going to the dark side of education or walking away from it. But then just, this is a moment to also be reminded that, you still have people that are impactful and hopefully, as he mentioned, effective in the classroom stills that can kind of juggle both sides of the world. So it's good to know that kids are coming to his classroom, his building, and hopefully are engaged, motivated, finding their whys or exploring their curiosities 10 times over.
Yeah, indeed. And just let me clarify, I'm on the dark side of ed tech, but I will tell you this, doing what I do, working with school partnerships, for my company, has really broadened my influence.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to teachers and administrators and district leaders, about their whys, about their, how can I meet my children where they are? It's not that I'm always trying to put a tool in their hands. I'm really trying to help them strategize what's most important. And I didn't have that reach in the classroom. I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, yes, I impacted my kids, and they're very special. And I love, when they contact me about what they're doing today. I think my last group is finally out of college. No, I think I got one more group that's still in college.
Wow.
But this role, I mean, as we continue to elevate and go to the next level in our own careers, and you're still passionate about making an impact, I think this has been my calling for quite some time, and I'm very grateful for it. So y'all leave me alone about going to the dark side.
Look, but you all right. You all right, because, dealing with, when you're talking about vocabulary and, you can go over to the dark side, but there's some people on the dark side that are doing the right work.
Yeah.
They're not just pushing a product, so as Jonathan mentioned, there's some people that go into industry for the money, just to make the money, but you aligned yourself with people that are restoring the integrity of education. And so therefore, regardless of the umbrella, that company is legit. Their purpose and their intention is legit. And so therefore, you aligned yourself with people that had the same mantra that you carry. So it's all good.
Thank you for creating our next commercial. Love it. All right. Before we bring on our next guest here, we just want to remind you a couple of things that we are looking for your participation. We are trying to give away some of these books and prizes. You can share your voice with us if you want to hop on and share us with us what you've learned so far at ISTE 20. What's going to make you, pivot, from what you're doing now into something brand new that's going to benefit those kids who are in those seats or on those screens with you during the school year. We want to know, we want to amplify your voice and your story. So you can go to bit.ly at ISTE Day 7, come join the show, or you can actually tweet us at #PassTheScopeEDU, #PassTheScopeEDU, using the ISTE 20 hashtag as well, and let us know, and maybe you can have a chance to win one of these prizes. Cool. Cool.
No, I'm checking the feeds to see if anybody's done any tweeting or with the challenge as well. So I'm checking that now.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, that right now it's Saturday morning. People are,
In
not
bed.
a lot of yes, trying to take advantage of it. Not a ton of people are online, at the sessions, but the sessions really just began. The main stage is over, so we're showing you a little bit of of the schedule right now. So if you have the time, make sure you join some of these. Even having a yoga breakfast. I wish it said yogurt breakfast. I don't do yoga, but I do yogurt. Something like that. I see Shana agreeing with me. But make sure you do check out the schedule. It's going to go all the way through as I continue to scroll all the way down. We're looking at times at my time zone. So it goes through 3:15 Central Standard Time. That's when the last session actually begins. So take advantage of the learning today, you guys, and let us know what you learned, because we'll try to give away these prizes throughout the rest of the weekend as well. So we'll love to have your participation. Cool. Well, let's bring on our next guest here. What's up, girl?
Hey,
Good morning.
Good morning. Look,
Good
Shana
morning.
looked like she looked like she did one of these numbers, Brian. She just sat right on up.
Oh, look, I'm giving hugs. You see my arms? I'm giving
Virtual
hugs.
Virtual hugs. Oh,
Yes.
we miss you. How are you?
Oh, I am blessed because I am up this morning. I've been up for a little bit because there's lots of professional development this morning. Um, you know, catching up, checking. This is my peace moment. So I've been finding peace and silence this Saturday morning. And I did not forget. I seen it yesterday from my brother over here, and I said, I'm gonna make it. God knew I needed a moment, and Saturday morning is perfect. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't just sit up, but I was like, this is a comfortable spot.
Yes, I know.
It's all
No
good.
worries. Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience here?
Oh, okay. So I'm Shana Glass, and this is my PLN. I am a program director for technology applications in STEM, which is by way of computer science for my district, which is Aldine Independent School District in Houston, Texas. I know, right? It's new for me. I've been doing it for a number of years, but the title has changed, which was a blessing. But I wear several hats. My field has stretched within computer science, where I am I'm the president for CSTA Greater Houston, and recently became a CS. What is it? A computer science equity fellow.
Yeah. I saw that.
So just a few things. I do dabble in some work with code.org, trying to expand teachers in the field. And so just, doing my due. I still do support digital equity and EdTech, educational technology. I've been doing some research into social emotional learning with educational technology tools. So how we can expand that, and it's not that it's new. None of it's new. Both of because we've been doing this for a number of years. We've known each other, seems like I'm not going to date it, but we've known each other a number of years. Where this is what we were screaming. I remember on the escalator at ISTE years ago. First Philly, not last, not the most recent Philly. First Philly, we were screaming. How come it's just us? When are they gonna see?
Wow.
What is it gonna take? I mean, literally, I'm going down the escalator, Fran's coming up the elevator, and this is where the language came from. And I was like, I don't understand why it's like 5 of us in here.
Wow.
Take me back. Take me back, dear.
Yes. I mean, we go back. We go back. We go back. So that's what I'm saying. We go back. So it's a blessing. 2020 has been interesting, but it has definitely come with lots of blessings. So.
Yes. To look at the program and to see so many faces of people that are in our PLN, people that we've been doing the work with, is just such a proud moment.
Family, girl. It's like looking at brothers and sisters on the stage, like, oh my God, like I see my sister, I see my brother. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like
yes. And I mean, it fills your heart. And then to know that there were so many things in 2020 that went wrong, but then there were so many blessings in 2020. I mean, look, we got a sister in the White House now, and just to think about the hope that has been restored. And, and I don't want to get political, but I like to call a spade a spade. For me, it wasn't even about a Republican or a Democratic Party, but it was about a human party. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of who you voted for, bad behavior is bad behavior. And the way I was raised, that grown adult would have caught a belt. Some of the things that were said and how he behaved, that's just bad behavior. And I cannot take any adult that will make an excuse for bad behavior. If that's who you would want to raise your child, some of the things they said, imagine if teachers behave that way in the classroom. Do you know how many adults will be up in arms at the principal's office complaining? So how do you excuse this person that's running the entire country behaving badly? We're just talking about behavior, people. I'm not bringing the politics into it. I'm talking about behavior.
And just think more so, how do children talk about this? Like what is okay, I'm not gonna date myself, but I am. Think about the book you used to read in school, the history book, the books the textbook they just set on the table. And you had to read about presidents, even scholastic, not trying to drop names, but there's things and times where you talk about who you look up to, because the presidents are who you look up to. And because they impact us, not just as a human being, but historically. So this is something that's going to be read and discussed. One sentence that's what we shun, like the one sentences on the civil rights movement where Dr. King said, I had a dream, and then the sentence had period, and that was the whole civil rights movement.
Right. Right.
What is the sentence going to say? Is it going to just be a sentence? What are children going to remember? My child's first president, my child was born months after the inauguration of Barack Obama. So we were taking a train, plane, and automobile to catch him on his inauguration run from Delaware down to Baltimore, down to DC. And I was way pregnant. And it was a frigid winter. I was like, you should not be out there as pregnant as you are. But that was her time. So she remembers him, as president. And now, of course, she really remembers the next. What is that? No. I mean, what is she going to remember?
That's that's actually the face we make often. Like, what is that? It's like.
But look, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back to ISTE. What are we going to remember, right? Because the same is said for us. Like, I remember, I'm gonna tell y'all a tiny story of my ISTE journey. I came into instructional tech. I got pulled out of the classroom. I got my degree, my master's degree in instructional technology, from Sam Houston State University. I'm gonna throw that out there. And I got offered this job, and I said, "So how do I prepare?" And my boss at the time, I cannot say, believe I'm saying this. My boss at the time said, "Oh, you have to figure it out." And I was like, "What?" "I think there's this ISTE, there's this conference." And I was like, "ISTE, okay." Now I thought I was required to do that. Well, I had to pay out of pocket, and it was in Atlanta, Valerie. And so
That's way back.
yes, it's way back. So I didn't know how to get there. I didn't have a place to stay. And a friend of mine.
See, if I knew you then, you could have stayed with
Look,
me.
let me tell you how well this went. A friend of mine on Twitter said, "Who wants to go to ISTE?" And I was like, "Me." We met in a Target parking lot. I got in her car. We drove to Alexandria, Louisiana, which is where my family's from. We stayed overnight at another girl's house. I just met her when I drove up in her parking lot. We got up the next morning and jumped in her car, and we drove cross country to Atlanta.
Wow.
And we stayed in a room of somebody from Twitter. This is what hippies do, I'm assuming. And I went there because Brain Pop offered a free session. I paid to go to ISTE, but Brain Pop offered a free session for their first Brain Pop certified educator training. And let me tell you, the rest was history, because from there, my district didn't even offer Brain Pop. I came back singing the praises, and we bought Brain Pop, and we still have it to this day because of that effort. And
Wow.
it sparked so much in me. And that was Chrissy Venisdale who reached out and started my PLN journey. If y'all not for sure who Chrissy Venisdale is, you probably should. She is the creator and founder of What's Your Superpower? No joke. She created that hashtag and that t-shirt and that logo and that image. Taught me about privacy and copyright through her journey. But really expanded my world to where I went to every ISTE the year after that. I used Donors Choose. I found every avenue to make sure that I attended. And that's how I sat in Refranza's session with her doing it, her first Ignite, to where it comes full circle, where Patricia Brown helped me join that equity forum, where I did my first Ignite this year. Yes, it was virtual, but I did it. So, I mean, it's amazing how small ISTE is, but how large it is, and who you connect with, who friends change from. People on social media changes from where you are, just from tweeting to family, right?
Yes.
Like Brian, when we drove back, I think, what was it? We drove back from TCEA. I mean, just, talking, and it's just, you helped me find my way, because that's what that was, right? You helped me find my way back home.
Yes, that's right.
Literally.
Wow, that's beautiful, Shana. I mean, you definitely. I don't cry a lot, but you got the tears going, because you're right. The impact. I mean, you think about it, family. We usually don't know these people from scratch, and our spouses probably all have had this conversation with us. You about to stay with who? What? Y'all in a house together?
My husband dropped me off, and he said, when he dropped me off, he was like, "What's her name?" I was like, you should probably know a little bit more, because I don't really know her, and you should probably know a little bit more than her name, because we can ready to drive 14 hours.
Yes. And then, as you mentioned, to see it come full circle and to think about the impact. I'm a better educator from being connected to the likes of you guys and Sarah and EdgeMatch, and just to think about this circle. And you talk about just people of color color, because a lot of times we're probably in buildings with people that don't look like us. You know, I work in a district where a lot of the people don't look like me. And then just to think about the impact and the power and our mindset. And Brian said something when we were on earlier with Jonathan, like, yo, we were ahead of our time. We just
Man,
didn't have a tribe to do it with
light
physically in the
years.
with us. So
Light
what's
years.
the thing that
Light.
they're doing on social media now, like how it started and where it's going? And that's truly what it is, like how it started and where it's going now. I mean, we need to document that, where it is now in 2020 from where it started. Like you talked about the 1 or 2 going up the escalator, and where it's going about the 10, 15, 20 on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
On
every time you jump
stage.
in a room, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna throw something else out there. And again, we family, so we've done it. OVA, okay, Our Voice Alliance, Our Voice Academy. This right here, that family. When I seen Quentin open up ISTE,
Yeah.
let me just tell you, mind blown. As we sat side by side in our cohort for OVA, and I was just cracking up as he was sharing M&Ms. To watching him on the ISTE stage is mesmerizing as
And
he
his
tells his
viral
story.
video, that went viral.
Yeah, you
You know,
can't
it
share your
Yes.
went.
M&Ms anymore because you can't touch this.
I know, right?
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get you.
But see, you're right. Those elevator moments, where we recognize that there's not enough exposure for us, for people of color. We were not in those spaces, because I think Atlanta was. Actually,
That
wasn't
was
that long ago. It was
2014.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2014.
2014.
That was
I
my
remember.
first.
It's like graduating from high
So-
school. I remember
so-
that was 2014.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Years.
bring it up a little bit, because after that, and then it was Philly the next year, if I'm not mistaken.
And I went to
Then-
that one.
And then, but here's the cool thing, Shane. I'm gonna remind people of this. That's when Refrans, Patricia, we started the Voxer PLC group.
Yep. That
And
was
Kurt Levelis
let me
was a
tell
part
you.
of that. And he used to wake us
Yes.
up every morning. Hello, beautiful brown
Do you
babies."
hear me? Do you hear
Yes.
me? You
And
talking.
it is amazing how not enough credit has been given to that. Not that we need it,
Man, I was gonna bring that up, Brian. I was gonna bring that up because that morning, those were my morning prayers. Like legitly, those were my
Yes.
morning. That was I have to get out the house quick because Refrans is driving a good hour to get to work, and we are praying this morning. We are in the morning after hours, and it would go on and on and
Yes.
on. But you would be there because
Yep.
you needed it. And Valerie, what you were saying on, you may be the only one that look like you. Try being the only one that do what you do. I'm still that. So my PLN is it.
Yeah. And that is the sad part. So we look forward to these opportunities where we can actually connect like this, like ISTE getting together. Because you're right, when we do go home,
Look
it's
at it.
almost like we're back in isolation, for so to speak. But what you guys got going on in Aldine is sick. I mean, you got a killer superintendent, which was a part of a lot of those conversations because she was in Lufkin before with Refrans.
Yes.
Refrans made that transition over from Arlington down there.
Yes.
But the impact that you're making outside of your district is actually phenomenal. I get to watch it become on that dark side of ed tech, but I get to see the influence, of the districts that are surrounding that Houston area. And when I tell you that you're doing more than just for your kids, I mean, I have to applaud y'all. I love what I'm seeing and how you actually are bringing more exposure to the computer science, to our Black and brown kids as well. Without you guys standing in the forefront of this and making bold decisions that everyone is going to have access, no matter what, that everyone is going to have an opportunity to learn this. No one will be excluded. We talk about inclusivity all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't take it to the level where no one is excluded.
That's exactly that's my emphasis on everything, and again, it comes back to this group. Equity is not just a phrase word; it's as that's being led. And you both know this. It's not just that. It's not a fad. I am a part of it. I am a part of what is becoming equitable. I am that example, not just the word.
Right.
And it needs to be seen. I had a conversation yesterday with a group of young women who are trying to show, as they go to work in these fields, that other young women and other young girls can do the same thing. And I told them, I said, you are the evidence of why I push. I need for young women and young girls and young boys of brown and black audiences and populations to see that they can be any and everything that they want to become.
Yeah.
And there's no limitation. And it doesn't matter what school you go to, even in a district where every single school is the same, meaning we're that Title I word, we're all, so there's no separation. And pretty much the whole country at this point, because of this situation
Right.
we're in, is pretty much Title I. But that doesn't mean that certain schools get it.
Yeah.
If you do it for one, you do it for all.
Yeah.
You have to find a way. You can't just say, well, we're going to try it for this one and then see if it works.
Yeah.
No, that's not equitable.
And stop putting so much red tape on them being able to do it. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation right there.
Yeah. But you're right. I find myself so frustrated with that. Like, I take 15 steps forward and then it's not even the steps. Then there's this block, like Minecraft. There's this huge block that just pops up out the sky out of nowhere. What is
So I think we just opened up something else right there.
Yes.
But we've actually have reached our time for today. Oh my goodness, Shana, I love you, girl.
Yes. This was very good, very heartwarming too.
Yes, miss talking to you. So let's not let too much time pass before we actually have you on again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you back to the schedule real quick, just to let you know that there's a ton of stuff that you can actually participate in today, just all over. A ton of sessions happening right now, but like I said, there's a ton that you can actually get involved with throughout the rest of the day. I'm just scrolling like real fast. You see, it's taking a long time.
It's Esports Day, so check that out.
It is Esports Day. Chris we was hoping to have Chris on, talk a little bit about that, but make sure you actually check him out. Are you presenting today, Shana?
I am watching today. I'm a spectator. Okay. I am going to go and see a couple of my friends today. I know Bradford is talking esports today, as we are starting to pilot that here in our district. So I'm going to just go represent and learn, because it's time to learn.
You're right. Yeah. It is time to learn and continue to learn. So, ladies and gentlemen, we still didn't give away those prizes, but Valerie, we're determined.
Don't worry. I'm about to jump in. I'm about to get I see what I'm not want.
Yes, we got some prizes to give away. We've got tons of great books. So, definitely tell us how this learning during this ISTE time, or maybe even just during the pandemic, and what you take away from it has allowed you to pivot, and just share that. And we've got some great prizes, some great authors: Jennifer Gonzalez from Cult of Pedagogy, Mark Barnes from Hack Learning Series, Shelley Terrell Sanchez, EduMatch Publishing Books. I mean, Jennifer Casa Todd. So don't miss out. Yep, Dee Lanier, Solve in Time. So these are great prizes. Take them back.
That's one you want.
That's the one you want. I know, Brian, how you got it set up. I think Brian's got like the random generator set.
Yep.
I know.
You'll see my tweet coming across after the session. You'll see some stuff coming through.
Yeah, so make sure you use the hashtag PassTheScopeEDU and ISTE20 for your chance to win. And like Valerie said, we'll put into a random name generator and we'll pull who the prizes, who the winners are. We won't get a chance to do it live, but we'll do it on Twitter and make sure we get those prizes out to you. So enjoy the rest of ISTE, the rest of the day. Thank you once again to our special guests, Jonathan and Shana, for coming on with us. Just keep learning, y'all. Just keep learning. Just keep learning. And we'll see you next time, sometime on Pass the Scope EDU.
Yes.